Now, there's been a lot of talk about electric vehicles over recent months and years, and there seems to be a new one launched every month. But what if you're not quite ready to delve into EV ownership? What are the options out there? Well, a hybrid could be a good stepping stone. Trouble is, there are lots of different versions out there of the hybrid system. So which one do you go for? Well, that's what we're going to take a look at today. We're going to start off with the Suzuki Swift Sport. It's a mild hybrid, which basically means it uses energy from the battery to assist the engine to make it run more efficiently. Then we've got the Volvo XC60 Recharge, which is a plug-in hybrid, which means you can plug it in at home overnight and then you can use the electric power to get you around the next day. And finally, the Nissan X-Trail, the new e-power version, which has a very clever and very different hybrid system. We're going to take a look at each of these cars and find out which one could be best suited to you. So let's start with the Suzuki Swift Sport. And you'd be hard pushed to think that this was actually a hybrid. You look at some of the sporty elements like the fake carbon fibre trim around the edge of the car and the spoiler at the back. It really keeps with that sporty intention that's on the badge. Now, they say beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but we really like what Nissan has done with the X-Trail's design. It manages to look rugged and bold without being too in your face. The split headlights look great and hint towards the smaller Nissan Juke, while Nissan's trademark V-shaped grille is all present and correct. The XC60 follows Volvo's usual evolutionary approach to styling. It's a nicely rounded design too, with some neat styling touches like Thor's hammer headlights, making it easily identifiable as a Volvo. There's some good lineage between the XC60 and other models in the range too. You can tell they're all related in some way. You get behind the wheel of the Suzuki Swift Sport and there are lots of elements that make you feel like you're behind the wheel of a proper hot hatch. You've got these figure-hugging sports seats, you've got this red detailing that's dotted around the dash and the flat bottom steering wheel too. It really is quite cool. The only problem is there are some elements which do let it down in terms of cabin materials. There are some nice touches like the USB port down here, and there's also an auxiliary for headphones or an iPod. I didn't even know they still existed. You've got a 12-volt charger down here and a couple of cup holders plus some extra storage bins. If you're doing lots of short journeys, I don't think you're going to feel too shortchanged behind the wheel. Now, if you get into the back seats, it is a little bit more compact, and because of the dark materials used on the seats, it can feel a little bit gloomy back there. There's also a little bit of a transmission tunnel as well, so anyone who's sat in that middle seat might be struggling when it comes to legroom. The interior of the X-Trail is a much more premium place to be over the previous model. The cabin materials are all very strong and they look pretty durable too. There is a little bit of piano black gloss, but we can forgive it that. There's a 12.3-inch touchscreen infotainment system which controls your satellite navigation, your phone and your radio, and it seems to work pretty well as well. There's also a separate control for your heating and ventilation, which is great because you don't want to go hunting for it in your infotainment screen. Overall, it's a really comfortable and great place to be. So if you move behind the front seats, anyone sat in that middle row won't be complaining when it comes to legroom. The seats are on runners so they can slide back and forth depending on how much legroom you need, and there's also plenty of headroom. You'll also find that there's 2 USB-C chargers and this one even has heated seats. One final option on this X-Trail is an extra row of seats in the boot. It's an additional £1,000, but they're pretty handy if you've got small children. I wouldn't be putting adults in there as there isn't much legroom and getting in and out can be a bit undignified. It also does impair boot space as well. Let's be honest, this is a Volvo, so you're going to have a nice cabin and it's very clean and minimalist. You've got an infotainment screen which is set up in a portrait orientation, and again that includes everything from your satellite navigation to your phone and media settings. It also has climate control as well, so trying to get your head around it whilst you're on the move might take a little bit of getting used to. There are some neat storage areas. Down here you've got a couple of cup holders, a charging mat for your phone and a little 12-volt charger there, and then you've got a little bit of space under your arm here. Now moving into the back, unlike the X-Trail where the rear seats are on runners, in the XC60 they're fixed, so your legroom is dictated to by the people sat in the front. However, there is quite a lot of space back there, both for head and legroom. So let's kick things off with the Nissan X-Trail, and it's got a hybrid system which is very different to a lot of other hybrid systems that are out there, especially the two that we've also got on test today. It's called e-Power, and the way it works is underneath the bonnet is a 1.3 litre petrol engine which pumps out around 200 brake horsepower, and it's designed to generate electricity for the motors to then power the wheels. So at no point does the engine power the wheels. Now, how does that affect things in the real world? Well, according to Nissan, you should average around 42 miles per gallon with emissions of 152 grams per kilometre of CO2. Overall, the whole driving experience is a lot more grown up than we've seen in X-Trails of the past. It's a lot more refined, it's a lot smoother to drive, but it's not as rugged or utilitarian. Even with this e-Power version, which adds another motor to the rear axle, it's not something that you want to take too far off the beaten track. But if you want to check out our full review, head on over to the Motors.co.uk YouTube channel right now. So now we move into the Suzuki Swift Sport Hybrid, and this is a very different type of hybrid to the other two that we've got on test. Essentially, it's what's known as a mild hybrid system, and that simply uses energy that's stored within the battery to help assist the engine at lower speeds. So at no point does it power the actual wheels themselves. That assistance means that it will lower emissions and improve fuel economy. This Swift Sport Hybrid in particular will average around 50 miles per gallon with emissions of around 127 grams per kilometre of CO2. In essence though, this car is perfectly suited to life around town. It's designed to be fun and agile, but it's also nippy. Okay, it might not be the quickest, it'll do 0 to 60 in around 8.9 seconds and have a top speed of 130 miles per hour. Now of course we've got a full review of the Suzuki Swift Sport Hybrid over on our Motors.co.uk YouTube channel, so if you want to find out more about this car, head on over there now. But the basic gist of it is, this is a car that's better suited to life around town. It's dinky dimensions and peppy engine and responsive steering means that it's great for nipping through traffic or squeezing into tight parking spaces. Yes, it will be capable on motorways, but it's not quite as refined, and the ride is relatively firm, which helps with its agility, but it can be a little bit intrusive at times. So on to the final car in our triple test. This is the Volvo XC60 T6. Now, as I mentioned, this is a plug-in hybrid, so you will get around 50 miles of range just on electric charge alone. It's powered by a 2 litre petrol engine with around 250 brake horsepower, plus you get another 150 brake horsepower from the electric motor. Now that does make it pretty quick. It'll do 0 to 60 in just under 6 seconds, but don't think of this as a performance-based SUV. Cars like the BMW X3 or the Jaguar F-Pace are far more involved when it comes to how it is to drive. Instead, this is a far more comfort-focused SUV. You'll end up getting to your destination feeling comfortable and relaxed, rather than having got there a little bit quicker with a bigger smile on your face. The one thing that really stands out is that brake regeneration that you get. You take your foot off the accelerator and it really slows the car down quite aggressively, almost to the point where you don't even need to use the brake. Now, one of the main reasons that you opt for a plug-in hybrid is that fuel economy, and Volvo claims that you'll get 282 miles per gallon plus CO2 emissions in the mid-20s, which for a big SUV is pretty impressive. Now, of course, if you want to watch the full review of this car, head on over to the Motors.co.uk YouTube channel to see our full test. So I think the one thing that this test has proved is that if you're in the market for a hybrid, you really have to do your homework when it comes to picking which one is best for you. You need to find one that's not only fits your lifestyle, but also fits your budget too. The Suzuki Swift Sport is a great option if you're looking for something a bit more affordable, something that's going to be great around town and nippy, but also has low running costs. Then we've got the Volvo XC60 Recharge with its plug-in hybrid technology. Basically means you can plug it in and charge it up at night at home, and then the next day you can do 49 miles on a single charge. And then finally the Nissan X-Trail with its clever e-power system. It's practical, spacious, 7 seats and has low running costs. Either way, I think it shows that there's a lot of variety in the hybrid section. Which one would I go for? Well, with my lifestyle, I think the X-Trail would be the perfect choice, but let us know in the comments section below which one would best work for you. Thanks for watching this Motors.co.uk group test of the Suzuki Swift Sport Hybrid, the Volvo XC60 Recharge and the Nissan X-Trail e-Power. If you have enjoyed this video, please give us a like below and don't forget to subscribe to the Motors.co.uk YouTube channel and click that bell icon so that you're notified every time we upload a new review.